Okay, we're streaming to YouTube. Ready when you are.
Okay, I'll call this meeting of the Seward City Council to order. It's Tuesday, May 26, 2026 at 7 p.m. And Chief, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call for tonight's meeting. Calhoun? Here. Osenga? Here. Warner?
Here.
Draper?
Here.
Barnwell is excused. Kreitz?
Here.
And Mayor McClure.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. There are no proclamations and/or awards, so this brings us to citizen comments on any subject except items scheduled for public hearing. There are no public hearings tonight. If you've signed in, you'll be given the first shot, and then after that, I can take show of hands. Up to 36 minutes total, and you'll get 3 minutes. And when you come up, there's some instructions, but you need to give your name and if you live inside or outside the city limits. Mr. Clerk, who's signed up?
There are 4 people signed in to speak. First on the list is Amanda Sweeting.
Hello, Amanda Sweeting, outside city limits. I'm here on behalf of the Seward Chamber of Commerce, the Visitor Center Bureau. I have a statement to read. We know many local businesses and community members are looking to the Chamber for updates regarding the cruise ship terminal opening and resulting schedule changes. We are actively working with our cruise, railroad, and community partners to gather and verify information, and we are continuing to share updates with the community as soon as information becomes available to us. Here are the latest updates. Royal Caribbean is providing complimentary shuttle service between Seward and Whittier for impacted cruise sailings. This means visitors who booked hotel stays, tours, or other reservations in Seward prior to embarkation or following debarkation may still keep their existing Seward reservations and travel between the two communities via the cruise free shuttle service. The June 2nd one-star cruise sailing abroad, the Starseeker, is currently being rerouted to Whittier. Royal Caribbean reached out today and confirmed that Silver Moon on Thursday the 28th will be coming to Seward. No direct confirmation on the 29th yet, but hopefully tomorrow we'll hear. Other cruise companies are given the option to tender passengers or utilize the freight dock in Seward while construction continues. In many cases, reroute decisions are not finalized until approximately 48 hours prior to sailing, depending on the cruise ship company. Premier Alaska Tours has been very helpful in sharing communications that they have received regarding other cruise lines. Current delays are related to ongoing construction at the dock, and at this time, no firm completion timeline has been provided. The Alaska Railroad and Royal Caribbean have been very communicative throughout this process and are working to provide updates as soon as information becomes available. So we'll post about the 28th on our socials tomorrow, but I thought I'd let you guys know. I just heard like a couple hours ago. So. Okay, cool. Moving on. We had our summer seasonal meets, which used to be called the Double Scoops event, on Sunday at the Sea Life Center. We partnered with the Sea Life Center to put that event on. We had about 120 people show up, and about 14 businesses and community organizations had tables. And we've already heard back from a couple of those, and people are already receiving applications from that event. It's supposed to be like kind of like a second job fair. So that was great. The Silver Salmon Derby registration is open, so we're super excited about that as well. And in the Derby, we've also evolved the pro category to the charter competition. So if you guys are interested to hear about the charter competition, we're posting it on socials, or I can talk about it more next time. Also, we have a really exciting partnership with the Charter Association, and we'll be talking about that later. And then on June 4th, we have the Port Partners event. It's not our event, but Royal Caribbean is hosting an event, and they would request that everyone RSVP. Don't forget. There's going to be free food and drinks and music, and you get to hear locals present. Thank you so much.
Mr. Clerk.
Next on the list is Andy Mesereau.
Good Good evening, and for the record, Andy Mesereau. I live outside city limits. I'm here on behalf of the Seward Charter Boat Association, and we'll be talking later about this salmon issue, but for right now, what I wanted to just bring to your attention was that there was, I believe on Saturday, a catastrophic marine accident out in the Gulf of Alaska where a charter boat's hull breached and it flooded and capsized. And there were passengers on board, including a 10-year-old child, and people ended up in the water. And so there were 2 charter boat operators that were doing their job and listening to the hailing and distress frequency and responded and saved those people's lives. And I wanted to bring this to your attention because I think it's the kind of thing that's appropriate to recognize these 2 captains that did go out of their way and took substantial risk to rescue these people. And had they not done that, we would be having a different discussion right now, because there's pretty much no doubt that there would be fatalities. The water's 41 degrees right now. They were 6 miles from Cape Resurrection out in the ocean. So these 2 captains are both local residents, Will Gentry and Nick Spur, who grew up here, and they both behaved in very high professional standard and maintained their composure and rescued these people and brought them back safely to the dock. And so I don't really know what the policy is for the city council to issue commendations or whatever you do, but I thought I would bring this to your attention and encourage you at a future date to discuss this and decide if this isn't the kind of thing that you would want to recognize people for their selfless behavior for. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Clerk.
Next on the list is Peter Frank.
All right. Good evening, council members and administration. My name is Peter Frank. I live in city limits, and I'm here tonight to discuss motor vehicle idling and propose that the council consider a new ordinance which would limit the duration of time a vehicle could be left idling within city limits. Idling a vehicle or running the engine while parked or stopped is an unnecessary and wasteful and harmful practice. It's unnecessary because most modern fuel-injected vehicles only require 30 seconds to a minute to warm up effectively, even in extreme cold. The state of Alaska has recognized idling as a wasteful practice and has instituted a 10-minute maximum idling policy for their maintenance and operations vehicles. Idling is harmful because it creates unnecessary noise and air pollution, which are especially impactful in urban areas. Unfortunately, my family has experienced excessive idling firsthand. We live just south of the post office, and for the last 16 months, a semi-truck contracted by the Postal Service has idled outside of our house for 6 to 11 hours, 6 days a week. The sound of the truck idling and the smell of the exhaust is noticeable throughout our property and in our home all day long from about 6 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on weekdays. Contacted the postmaster and the driver to address the issue with no success. So, in researching how to address this issue, I quickly found that idling regulations have been enacted quite commonly throughout the United States. In fact, 31 states and dozens of municipalities have enacted regulations limiting vehicle idling times. And I'm not trying to propose a overly burdensome limit. You know, I know many of us, including myself, start and idle our cars in the winter to warm up and defrost cabins, and I don't want to prohibit or stop that practice. Therefore, I am proposing that Seward follow the precedent enacted by other municipalities across the nation and issue an ordinance which would limit the duration a vehicle can be idled within city limits to 15 minutes. I've sent council and administration a draft of the proposed ordinance, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, who else?
Okay. Last person signed in to speak is El Zernia.
Forgot my glasses. My name is El Zernia. I live outside of city limits. I wanted to come now that it's passed and talk about mermaids. I wanted to thank everyone who braved the cold. It was our probably coldest fest yet. And Shelley and I are eternally grateful for everyone that showed up. We love seeing all the locals enjoying the festivities. We want to thank all the excellent entertainment, the Breeze Inn for hosting the beverage bar, our local waste management that has stepped up and helped with rubbish assistance for 9 years running since our very, very first fest. I also want to recognize and thank Nate Smith, Brian Mullally, and all of the Marathon Wrestling team. This is, I might have this wrong, this is either their third or fourth fest where they have donated their time for the entire festival to help me clean out the trash cans. And they've done an excellent job, and we couldn't do it without them. We also wanted to thank Changing Tides through the Seward's Arts Council. Thank you. We absolutely loved the flash mob, and hope that it grows in future fests. We want to thank all the restaurants and local bars who participated in the pub crawl. And most of all, we want to thank our city departments here at the City of Seward. For 9 years now, the Harbor Master's Office has stood behind us and helped us facilitate this event. The police is always ready and willing the moment we call and need anything. They are there in moments. The fire department, whenever we've needed them, has come right away. The public works people have always been so gracious with allowing us to use some of their resources with regarding to signage and all of that kind of stuff. Parks and Rec for letting us use the lot. Appreciate you guys. And I just like to remind everybody that, you know, we're not, as a festival, in the business of making money. We do it for our community. Any money we have left over, we give back to our local programs, including sports clubs, youth groups, nonprofit programs, arts endeavors. And next year's going to be our 10-year anniversary. It's going to be our biggest fest yet. So, again, I just wanted to thank everyone. Thank you for letting us have it. And continuing to let us do so. And if you ever have any questions, concerns, or want to volunteer to help out, let us know. And just on a total second side note, I was going to mention it, but Andy did a great job about talking about our local heroes from this last week. I also wanted to just mention EMS and thank them. They showed up and were very professional and handled the situation beautifully. And really, I got to see firsthand how interacting with those victims was so great.
Thank you. Anyone else? That was all that signed up, right? Anyone else wish to speak at this point? Raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it down to approval of the agenda and the consent agenda and ask for a motion to approve in a second, please.
I'll move for the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there anything anyone would like to change? I'm not seeing anything, so Mr. Clerk, let's vote.
Voting on the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda, Osenga,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Draper,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Your agenda and consent agenda have been approved, and on the consent agenda were the May 11th, 2026 City Council meeting minutes, the introduction of ordinance 2026-005, amending Seward City Code 2.10.071 council packet and 2.10.100 decorum, and no grounds for protest for the Amco beverage dispensary liquor license renewal for the Gateway Hotel, as well as the Highliner restaurant.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple of reports. First is the city manager report. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a few things I'd like to highlight from the city manager's report. The big one is that I was absent from last meeting along with Vice Mayor Osenga as we visited Washington, D.C. to meet with our entire federal delegation as well as some key agencies. The big the big visit, I think, of the whole trip, and Vice Mayor Senga may disagree, but I think you will agree, was our visit to the Coast Guard was really productive. In the past, we visited the Coast Guard and had a brief 10 to 15-minute conversation, shook hands, and walked out the door. But this time, we visited and brought with us a white paper to explain and showcase how the city of Seward is an ideal candidate for up to 2 of the Arctic security cutters that have been approved by the federal government for the Coast Guard. And so I feel like it was a great conversation. We talked about a lot of things throughout the community, like housing availability, childcare, education, quality of life, rail access, road access, all of the things that make Seward a wonderful place to live and would make it a wonderful place for a Coast Guard expansion and Coast Guard to live. We also met with our federal delegation, like I said, and we got some good news as well while we were down there, that both Senator Murkowski and Representative Begich have submitted 3 of our project funds for the congressionally designated spending. And this is sort of our wish list that we go over each year and say these are the things we'd like to request from our federal delegation. And then our delegation either chooses to submit them, and then it's discussed further, or not be submitted. And so we've passed that first hurdle and have had 3 projects submitted. Senator Murkowski submitted drinking water main replacement for $3.4 million and sidewalk replacement for $1 million, and Representative Begich submitted a SMIC infrastructure upgrades for $3.7 million to expand and modernize SMIC. So a big thank you to both of those representatives, and we look forward to following along, and fingers crossed they get through the entire process and we see that funding brought to Seward. We also got some good news back home in a similar fashion. We received an update from the Rural Health Transformation Fund that 2 of the 5 projects that we submitted alongside with the Providence Hospital, the Seward Hospital Center, were approved to go to the next stage of application. And so we got the green light to submit applications for the Integrated Home Health Project and the MRI with Modular Pod Project. So we're really excited to work with the hospital to move those 2 forward. And then I would be remiss if I did not say, for Russ, who put so much work into the work session earlier, I told him not to come to the meeting tonight, but he wants me to remind everybody that we need volunteers for soccer and people to sign up for soccer at Sports and Rec. So if you are excited about the World Cup and would like to share that excitement with the youth in Seward, sign up to volunteer for soccer coaching with Sports and Rec. And with that, I'll open any questions if you have any.
Okay, questions for the city manager? Yes, Councilmember Werner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor McClure. I was wondering if you could give the public an update on the vending machine and the amazing, award.
Yes, oh my gosh. I'm so glad you brought that up. So we have been working at council's urging. We applied for a Narcan vending machine, and we worked with Kachuchik to do so. And a lot of the work behind that was with through our executive assistant, Kristen. And with that program, she got to go up to Anchorage for a Pathways to Recovery conference, where she was awarded with a Distinguished Service Award. So we're really excited to hear and see that she was honored for her role in that project, and she's been doing a great job, and it's excited to see it celebrated at a statewide level. So thanks for reminding me. Yeah, kudos to Kristen. I know she's watching.
No, that's good. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Bickling, do you have anything?
No comments, thank you.
I just want to tell you I appreciated all of your attention while the city manager was gone, because he was right there every time I needed something, and just like she is. But it's good to have that reassurance that problems can be solved while the city manager is away.
I'm also very reassured by that. I'm very grateful for Jason.
I really appreciated several things there. Anything else? Okay, thank you. City Clerk, you've got something you want to say.
Yes, thank you, Mayor McClure. In page 40 of the council packet, this is just a repost from the Borough Clerk about the vacant seat on the Borough Planning Commission. They're seeking a representative from Seward, someone who lives inside city limits. So if anyone is interested to be on the Borough Planning Commission, check out this flyer on page 40 and follow the application instructions.
And I highly recommend it. I've said before, this is how my meteoric rise to fame began back in 2008. I got on that, and it's a good thing. If you have any questions, I was on it before I got on the Borough Assembly, so. Okay, anything else from the clerk at this time?
Nothing
That
else,
was it.
thank you.
Okay, no attorney report, so I guess we're down to presentations, and the first is the Boys and Girls Club presentation by CEO Shanette Wick.
Madam Mayor, if I could just add too, I will cut in ahead of time and say that they will be hopping out right after this because they are driving back to Kenai Soldotna now. So gutting ahead of any of the, they ran right off after the presentation. We're really grateful they made the drive over today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Usually we're running to a club. Shanette Wick with Boys and Girls Club outside of city limits, obviously. I'm touring with our admin team, Michelle, Jackie, and Adora, and the awesome Katrina Townsend and her husband from the Seward Clubhouse. I know most of us probably want to get right to the Seward stuff. We're a really, obviously, growing organization. So last year alone, we provided, and this includes our Seward numbers, and I will get to them individually, over $750,000 in scholarships and served over 2,200 kids. We take a lot of pride in not turning anybody away. One of our favorite things is food. And as these are two things that the kids draw now when we talk about what they love about after school, these were only two. These were not the only two. These are just the two we put in here. So many of the kids chose food over athletics or our gym time, art. And so it really does remind us how important our meals are. Seward unfortunately doesn't qualify for our child nutrition program. The school needs to be 50% free and reduced, but we continue to serve a breakfast, a lunch, and then a snack. Here's our Kenai Clubhouse. If you look real quick, they had 329 members with 79% being scholarships and quite a bit of meals. Soldotna Clubhouse just moved back into an elementary school, which is where Seward Clubhouse was for a very long time with Debbie. So 166 kids with 46% receiving scholarships. Here's our Seward Clubhouse. We have 30% for our scholarships and served 64 members, and that's something we really do want to concentrate and work on next school year, promoting it. I know Kat serves on our board. We've talked in depth about that as a board and at our meetings with 4,700 meals, 4,787 meals. And her average right now is 23. I was just there. It's really hard to get away sometimes to the peninsula, so it was so awesome to go to there and watch all of the kids. One of the things that stands out is when you have a stranger come into a facility and the kids don't miss a beat. And that's a sure sign of safety, knowing that Katrina does and the staff do an amazing job when you visit. And I ran a club for 18 years. It is really important that kids feel that, and I could tell when I came into the space. Our Kenai Teen Center, almost 200 kids were enrolled, 100% scholarship. We don't charge our teens any money. As most know, they would probably drive or walk away if they were having to pay a fee. Almost 6,200 meals, and their ADA is 39 kids. In your little book, your annual reports that we handed out, this sticker was something the kids spent probably about 3 to 6 months designing, and we were actually able to turn it into what is now our 2026 sticker and hopefully our shirt logos. These teens are amazing kids, and we're super thrilled to have this sticker, which we just got a week ago, out everywhere. Our athletics department, as funny, Kat said that we just got our last coach like a week ago with like 28 teams. Love the fact that we're not the only ones looking for coaches all the time. It's a growing program. We're really gonna, this next winter, being in our own facility, try to focus on our 3, 4, 5-year-olds, which seems to be a lot of parents are looking at a way to keep their kids active in the winter at that age. We have our banner sponsorship opportunities, childcare. I know that for Seward, that is a big, like ours on the peninsula. We launched this almost 2 years ago. It would be great for our Soldotna, or maybe one day our Seward program. This has been extremely successful. a really strong team, and I can tell you it helps fund our campus, and it serves all, we have so many families, I think it's 8 or 9 right now that walk over from the child care center to the clubhouse to pick up their kids, so it's just serving our families better, and we have an incredible child care center, and if it works right, or continues to work right, it'd be great to implement in our other communities. Life, workforce readiness, I know Seward has the same problem we have on the peninsula, and that is looking for work year-round. We kind of thought, let's train them young, let's get them in there more than just reading the curriculum. We have them work with our they're paid. So they're learning how to clock in, what to wear, why your phone is locked up, the importance of what you post on social media. Just, it's incredible the growth that we've seen in these junior staff, and now they average 15 to 16, I think. Oh, 17. 17. We're hoping to develop or put out some great workforce on the peninsula. Our campus, this is how it kind of started with Royce and Melba Roberts. We too received a CDS with Markowski, almost $5 million. And that is how the Child Care Center, it's a great process, just buckle down, it's quite a ride if you've never had one. And then we do 5 big events on the peninsula. We now can do a rental, and Michelle Heyman received she's one of 5 that received the State of Alaska Superhero After School Award, quite an accomplishment. And Kat was not there that day for pictures.
I wasn't there.
We can go back to Seward. Apologize. I do think it's important that when we present that everybody sees us as a whole organization. I know sometimes when I just did it at the chamber, but when we present to the city of Kenai or Soldotna, sometimes it's nice to focus on those. Inside your book also has a nice little summary of her kind of her year in 2025. Submitted, I believe, in your packet was her last 6 months report. Katrina does an incredible job of telling her story along with our pictures. So when you're distant, like we are, it is so nice to be able to feel like you are kind of knowing what's happening consistently. And I do believe Michelle emails those to you all every quarter. So is there any questions? Did I miss anything?
Thank you. Are there questions, comments? Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor McClure. Thank you for the great presentation, and this booklet in the 2025 review is great, so thank you for providing that. My question is, could you give us any examples of how the overall Kenai Peninsula Boys and Girls Club is partnering and collaborating with other local organizations that support our youth inside city limits of Seward? Like, I know you guys have like the athletics program and stuff over on the other side, so is there any of that collaboration happening with the Seward Clubhouse and?
Yeah, your athletics know not at this time that I'm aware of, and I'm sure, no. But I would encourage that. I think that it does help grow. We found in the communities that we're in, usually if there's a need, they reach out and we're all about it. Partnerships that we do our own athletics, but we now are currently partnering with the field house so that we're not overlapping. And so what we've created is, instead of us all offering the same type of sport or the same age group, we're now deciding, like, you run that one and we can run that one. There can be a partnership with that. If the Parks and Rec or something, we like to focus on the older kids. What we found is we like to be the introduction to sports. Because a lot of parents, I thought I recognized you from volleyball. Yeah, both my daughters play. I just told Michelle, I'm like, I think she's a volleyball coach. It's really important for us to be kind of the intro to sports. So if Parks and Rec's like, we would like to focus on maybe the next level and then comp. So on the peninsula, we're thinking, okay, we can introduce them to volleyball or basketball or soccer, floor hockey before they do hockey. Then the Parks and Rec maybe can do the next level. And then we have comp that steps in, and a lot of kids, if they're a little bit more serious or maybe looking at scholarships, can go there. But we're 100% about partnerships. A lot of it is I don't know what I don't know. So I encourage anybody to reach out.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay,
You don't want me to get home early. And I would like to say, I'm sorry that this is our first time presenting. We do have, and we look forward to doing it annually. I do appreciate the opportunity to tell our story, so.
Okay. And drive safely.
Yeah, right.
Please. Okay, our second presentation is the Seward Salmon Partnership. So, salmon people, come on up. Or person, or however you...
All right. You already know who I am because I've introduced myself before, Andy Mesereau. I'm the Vice President of the Seward Charter Boat Association. I'm sitting up here with Katie Zernia. I'm going to give her ample time to talk to you in just a minute. But basically, I'm here today to talk to you about a new program that we're developing that really started off as Katie's idea in the first place, even though we've all been thinking about salmon enhancement. She came to me and asked me what I thought about doing it, and because I've been in fisheries management for years, Chance Miller, the president of the Charter Boat Association, and myself spent quite a bit of time figuring out a path forward to try to help with salmon enhancement, because it's kind of been a declining deal here for years, and I think we all realize that this community is better for it when we have positive salmon runs. People have better shore fishing, they spend more money in stores, our season gets extended by several weeks. There's just a number of tangible benefits that occur. But what I'd like to do is let Katie kind of tell you her story, and she's going to be our community outreach person that's going to go around and try to help with fundraising, and so I'll give her a chance to kind of speak to you first, and then I'll wrap up with a few comments at the very end.
Hi, I'm Katie Zernia. I was raised here in Seward, and I'm a third-generation charter fisherman out of Seward. I kind of came up with this idea as something that my brother and I were working towards. We have some clothing that we sell in a couple places here in Seward, and so we wanted to take some of the profits from that and donate it towards salmon enhancement. There wasn't a clear path for how to get that done, so I came to Andy to try to find a path, and once people started hearing about that, that it was something that, you know, we were trying to move forward with, others became interested in also having a path to donate towards, other charter businesses and other people in the community. So just kind of the idea that, you know, if we are taking so much out of the ocean, we really should put some back in when so many of us rely on it, and salmon is the only thing that we can do that with right now. Especially as, you know, halibut regulations tighten on the charter community, a lot of businesses are going to be looking towards that to fill the other 2 days a week that they have cut off from halibut. So, you know, that'll be important for everyone. And then with stronger silver runs, the derby participation increases, you know, when people are excited about going fishing for salmon. Other than that, you know, it'll bring more people to Seward when we have better salmon runs. You know, the city campgrounds will hopefully be fuller if, you know, people are driving down from Anchorage to go snagging. Other than that, I didn't have.
That's fine.
Thank you.
So what we did is we first went to the Commissioner of Fish and Game and talked to him about it, because Katie's original idea was to add more king salmon to the bay. That was the original thought, and that is very difficult right now. There's not enough returning king salmon to do egg takes annually. They only if we have an exceptional year can they do that enhancement effort. So king salmon is just really hit or miss. And honestly, Seward is known for its silver salmon fishing. That's what it's known for. And I think what's happened, I'm sure you've talked about this in the past, but basically what's happened is as the runs have diminished, the buyback during the chamber, which supplies the money to buy more smolt, has been diminished, and it's sort of this self-fulfilling prophecy where the runs get smaller, the money gets smaller, we get less fish coming back, and it's been winnowed down by 50 or 70% from when the Derby was in its sort of glory. And I think everybody here has been here long enough to know what that was like when they used to give a truck away and hundreds of people would come and participate. And I as someone who's at the end of my career after 30 years here, I'd like to see if we can do something to make things a little bit better. And right now, halibut is at a persistent low level of abundance. Rockfish limits have been significantly reduced, and there's nothing we can do about that. The way fisheries management works in the state is the state waits for a good recruitment event, when a lot of babies are made, when conditions are ideal, the stock goes up, and then you fish on those fish, and then it goes back to this low level like it's at now. And so right now, rockfish and halibut are at a low level, and salmon enhancement is the one thing we can do as residents in Seward to make fishing better here. And so the idea is we have these sort of little handouts that are going to be soliciting businesses to put them up, and what it boils down to, it's about $3 a smolt. So if you went out on the bay and had a good day of fishing and you caught 6 salmon for $18, you could replace those salmon. And so we have different categories of donation, including an unlimited amount of money, but the idea is we're going to ask our charter clients to replace the fish they took by donating. And we're hoping that we can put these in businesses. And I've seen where they put those little square things in the bar where people put their drink on them. We want to get those with this code on them, so when people are telling their fish stories at the bar and they have bad judgment, they pull out their credit card. But really, the community is one piece of this, right? The community involvement, and I think we've had a real positive feedback from people in the community because we're trying to do something with the chamber to make this better, but I also think we're going to go beyond the community and go to larger corporations and solicit this kind of thing. And it doesn't take much to get back to where we were. I think it was 20,000 smolt, which is a manageable number, which is about $60,000. It's not that much money to raise if you spread it out over a number of businesses and small donations. And so the reason we're here today is just we wanted to alert you to what we're doing here, want to encourage the city to help us spread this message, and maybe encourage the city to make an annual donation to this thing. The way we've set it up is 100% of the money goes towards salmon enhancement. We don't take $1 from the Charter Boat Association, and the chamber doesn't take any money. This just goes to try to solve the enhancement conundrum. And I think if we succeed in this and we're able to start putting those bigger numbers in, maybe we won't need to do this anymore. Maybe the buyback will sustain the salmon derby and it can get back to that level that really excites the whole town. And even what happens in September where there's 50 or 60 or 100 people at the culvert and down by the harbor snagging fish for their own food security and personal use. You know, these are all benefits that come with this. And so we just wanted to bring this up to you, give you a chance to think it over, see if there's anything you want to do, or at least help us spread the word and help us with this sort of community-based enhancement effort.
Thank you. Questions? Yes.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Is the chamber going to be your nonprofit if people want to donate money? Some people are happy to donate money if they can get a tax write-off for it.
So
Or have you guys founded your own
both
nonprofit?
the chamber is a 501, the Charter Boat Association is a 501c3.
Right.
The donations are going to go into a bank account that the Charter Boat Association manages, and each year, once we get our donations in after the Salmon Derby, we'll have a deal where we present a check to the chamber for this enhancement effort. So I think you can get it. I think you can get the benefit either way.
That's smart. That's great. Great. I appreciate your shirt.
Yeah, I thought it was appropriate.
If you can't see on the, it's salmon, I'm assuming. I can't.
Well, thank you for your time.
Yes, thank
Listening to
you
this whole
very
thing. We
much.
appreciate
It's
it.
exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we need a break? Anyone? No. Okay, we'll move on to our one big item of business here. We have one resolution. It's Resolution 2026-053. Mr. Clerk, could you please read that into the record?
Resolution 2026-053, authorizing the city manager to accept the proposal from CRW Engineering for professional design, engineering, and surveying necessary to expand electrical and water in Resurrection South, and Iditarod area campgrounds in the amount of $119,454 plus 10% contingency and appropriating funds.
Thank you, and you'll see this on page 41 of the packet. I'd ask for a motion to approve in a second, please.
I'll move for the approval of Resolution 2026-053.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll invite Parks and Rec Director Mel up to speak to this.
Busy day for you.
So, Mel Hawes, I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation. This came before council to add 36 utility sites along the waterfront campground in Resurrection. This has been a priority for Parks and Recreation for over a decade, and it's remained on the city's capital improvement project for the past 5 years, I believe. And to move forward with the project, Parks and Recreation reached out to CRW to submit a proposal. Their scope, so this is what this will include, is engineering and design of 36 electrical pedestals and water connections, land surveying, preparation of bid-ready construction documents, permitting, bidding, and construction support, and milestone inspections throughout the project. So the proposed timeline for the anticipated project is going to be fall of this year, possibly into spring of '27. No firm project costs have been established. I did give a laydown and a rough estimate of, there was a rough calculation back in 2021 of the project costing $400,000. So I'm sure will be much higher. So this effort would build on prior campground improvements. I did a little research, and in 1995, the department installed 20 water and electric RV hookup sites, followed by the conversion of 75 dry camping sites to utility sites in 2004. So it's been over 20 years since Campgrounds have made any major improvements to the campground. The campground season runs April 15th through September 30th, so that's approximately 167 days. So we calculated, predicting 150 days of full occupancy. We were looking at $680 per day of extra revenue, amounting to $100,000 for the season. And I provided a map as well, and all of our along the waterfront, we just wanted to continue the electric all the way along the waterfront closest to the water. So those are our most popular sites and booked all season long.
So one thing to add to that too, thanks Mel for a thorough explanation, but when you're looking at this, it's $119,000 for the engineering for the project. And so like Mel said, in 2021 we had done preliminary costs for what this would look like, and it was about $400,000. So when we're looking at what this could cost today, kind of anticipating anywhere between 6 and 8 potentially. So this is the first step in that investment. And we were talking back and forth about what we'll do if that price tag comes in pretty high. And I think the first thing to note is that the plans that'll be made from this could be continued down the line. So if it comes back and it's super high and you're like, council isn't really excited about it, we could table it. But it's never going to get any cheaper as well. So if you think through the general idea of it as well, as Mel said, it brings in additional revenue each day, and we could increase that revenue to potentially cover those costs of what that electric site works towards. So this isn't a department that creates revenue. So just to kind of prepare you to say this, if this passes and we move forward, it won't be the first. There'll be another resolution later that will be for installing and going forth with the project, but it can create revenue for itself down the line.
Okay. Council, questions, comments, concerns? I know there would be something. Councilmember Calhoun, go ahead.
Oh, Madam Mayor, I'm okay right now.
Oh, okay. I was just looking at your face, that's all. Go ahead, I mean, if you want to speak.
It's just funding. It's just where is this going to come from? I mean, obviously, it creates its own revenue, but it's not going to create $800,000 in 1 week or when this bill is due. So do we have a plan on how to fund actually improving this infrastructure?
Oh, as far, so we're talking about a enterprise fund for the campgrounds. So we would be funding out of that, but the initial cost for the engineering would be.
Could you speak in?
I'm sorry.
They can't hear you back there, I'm sorry.
The original cost for the engineering would be under a capital improvement funds.
Yeah, so the initial cost would be from capital improvement, and then moving forward in 2027, if that's when it comes through, we're anticipating turning the campgrounds and parking into one enterprise fund and utilizing the funds from that to help fund the rest of this project.
Yeah, I know this has been discussed during the long time I've been on council, and I don't recall why we put it off, but probably it was funding. I mean, but this is just, if indeed the engineering that we're getting here can be held over if we can't fund the whole thing, I guess that's a step. I don't know how the rest of the council feels about this. Or we could just vote if you don't want to speak on it. Oh, Councilmember Werner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor McClure. I personally think it's a good investment. I mean, we see how full our campgrounds are every year, and more people that come and can reserve those spots with added utilities, I think is a bonus. But I do hear what Councilmember Calhoun is saying about, where's the funding going to come from in the budget. But I don't know, I could see it being a good driver to get more individuals, especially Alaska travelers, down to Seward.
Councilmember Draper.
Yeah, and thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to add that, when we were talking about this earlier, those are going to be premium spots.
Exactly.
They'll garner more a higher price tag to rent them, and so they will pay back. It'll be a pretty long payback period.
I know, yes.
I think it's probably something that we need to do, because it's not right now, so.
But yeah, it will enhance the visitor experience. And another thing I wanted to bring up is some of these waterfront campsites, we're noticing so many more motorhomes becoming bigger and bigger. So they're going to be up to 50 feet, and we will charge the premium rate. I think it would be $10 above what we charge for premium campsites. So.
And Madam Mayor, we're also assuming that payback period based off of today's rates for the campground. So if it comes through and we do see a big boon to the premium level campgrounds, those rates can be adjusted in our fee schedule. So all things to consider as we potentially move forward with it.
Okay, you guys want to vote? Looks like we're ready, Mr. Clerk.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2026-053. Draper?
Yes.
Calhoun?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes?
Kreitz?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay, thank you. That was the official business. We've got other new business. And the first is to discuss any action items based on the work session about the Seward Middle School closure. So, Madam City Manager, do you want to kick that off?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So as we discussed in our previous work session, we added this discussion item to see if council would like to direct administration to move forward with exploring the opportunities available with a lease of the middle school and operating it as a community rec center. I think we had heard a lot of really great input and had a good conversation about it, but I also wanted to make sure that before we put too much time and effort and energy, we had the will of the council behind us to move forward and have those conversations to bring back a robust package to you.
So this is similar to what we've done with the pool?
Yes, very similar.
So, council.
I don't think we have much choice,
I agree with you there, yes.
honestly.
I think we should just go ahead and see what you can come up with.
Great.
I mean, that's my opinion, but, yeah. Do we need to vote on that direction, or can we just have a unanimous, Mr. Clerk? What do you think?
Oh, I had a question for
Oh,
the
sure.
secretary. What exactly are we asking for? A detailed pro forma and plan, or?
Yes, so what I'm anticipating is a lease agreement with the borough would be the first step, as well as a pro forma that breaks out what the subleases within the building would cost, so setting up those prices as well, then including programming and et cetera. So, yes, two separate things, an initial contract to lease the building from the borough, and then a detailed overview of what we would actually be utilizing and doing within the building, and any potential revenue that could bring in.
Which would be something that would come back to us to amend if we needed to, or, I mean, discuss.
Yeah.
That sound good?
Yes.
Yes. So do we need to vote? I'm sorry, that's,
Oh, yeah. I don't think you need to, as long as there's no questions about it.
yeah, I think we're good on that.
Great. Thank you, Madam
Okay.
Mayor.
Feel directed?
I feel directed.
Okay. The second is a recap of the electric utility community engagement effort. I have a feeling some electric department folk will come up.
Good afternoon, evening, I guess it is, Madam Mayor, and council members, thanks for having me tonight. I'm going to bring Shauna Tome up. She's working with us on this from Northern Compass, just to introduce her. She's got the background on this, and I want to say right off the bat, the last slide, at 11 o'clock last night, that seemed like a good idea, the big picture of the hydro plant. It's in your packet, in the middle of downtown Seward, but just, that is not at all what we're proposing here. That was where I went to Chad and said, hey, make an image of Seward with a hydro plant, and I looked at it when I talked to Sean, she goes, what's that? I go, I don't know, it looked cool to me, I'm an engineer, so apologize, you'll see when we get to the end of it. So we're going to recap sort of where we are on this governance transition discussion we've been having for almost at least a year now. And Shauna works with me at Northern Compass, and she's helped us set up the surveys and the town halls and kind of vetted some of the information. She didn't vet this because I did it at 11:50 last night, and when she vetted it this afternoon, she gave me some good advice. But with that, I'll just kind of move right along. Why we began the process, and this is some history. I mean, some of you all may know this or not. There was a couple attempts to sell the utility. There was an agreement after those were resolved not to attempt a sale for a couple years. But I think the determination that the organizational structure of the electric utility as a department of the city hadn't been functioning well for a long time and really isn't well suited to meet what I would call the changing conditions in the electric industry today. One thing I want to emphasize up front is the city, Kat and myself and the team I'm working with, we are committed to an open, transparent process. This was one of the key points that came out of the survey that we did. People felt like they wanted an open and transparent process, and we were trying to do that through a series of town halls and focus groups and surveys. The core question that the community of Seward, from my perspective, needs to answer is, how should you organize this electric utility? And electric utilities tend to be a little different than other utilities because they can be a big economic driver for a community. But how are you going to manage those things like ownership and financing and the community voice of the utility in a way that ensures that it provides safe, reliable, and cost-effective power, energy that can be used to promote economic opportunities? That's kind of a heavy lift, but that's the question in front of Seward today. Stepping back a little bit, last summer we did a survey. We had 422 respondents, and that's a plus or minus 4.5% margin of error. And basically it says that we are 95% confident in the answers we got within plus or minus 4.5%. We also had 2 focus groups that we brought some of the more disparate members, members with disparate responses together and tried to flesh out what they felt and why. At the very top, and it's no surprise, are rates and reliability. Number 2, respondents wanted a robust, open, transparent process, and we're really trying to accomplish that. A number of the folks said they did not have enough information to make an informed decision last summer, so that's a lot of the part of these town halls. And it was interesting, but a majority of residents, both inside and outside city limits, believe that all the users of the utility should have a voice in utility decisions. And that was kind of I thought that was a really positive statement for the community. What did they say? 85 people said rising rates were their biggest concern. 48 was reliability, representation, local representation, transparency, and local control. I think the implication, the takeaway from this is that whatever governance model we come up with has to be evaluated based on all of these primary concerns or beliefs of the citizenry. So from that, Shauna helped me, and we framed 5 objectives to measure the alternatives that I'm going to talk about in a minute against. And so the first is cost-effective long-term provision, safe, reliable, and cost-effective electric service. I've got that in there twice, so I apologize. Use low-cost, reliable, resilient energy as a driver for sustainable local economic growth. Give each electric consumer a voice regardless of their geographic location. Attract and retain skilled employees and build a workforce needed to execute the above. And retain local influence or control to the extent practical and consistent with reliability and cost. So I think that retaining local control was not clearly in the survey. It was not at any cost element, but that's sort of the objectives we came up from the much broader survey. I just hit the high points of it there. Our outreach to date was the community service, and if you'll recall, we had a town hall number 1, and in that town hall we brought in the small Seaboard electric cooperatives, Cordova, Copper Valley, and Kodiak, and they sort of talked about what it was like to be a co-op, with the size, a cooperative of the size that Seward would be, or smaller. I think Cordova's about half the size from a load and member consumer standpoint as Seward. Copper Valley's about twice as big, and Kodiak is a little bigger than that. In Town Hall number 2, we brought the Railbelt CEOs and senior managers from the big Railbelt utilities from Homer, Chugach, MEA, and Golden Valley, and they sort of talked to folks about what their mission, vision, and values were. And in the third one, we wanted to cover what a municipal agency would look like. And that's a body that some municipalities have used where you set up a semi-autonomous part of the city under separate procurement and human resources and governance rules to operate specialized things. So Mark Begich came down and talked about his work when he was on the Assembly in Anchorage, setting up the Anchorage telephone utility as a municipal agency and how that worked for those folks. And then finally, we had the 2 in-depth focus groups for ratepayers. So with that, we sort of pulled together out of that discussion what 4 alternatives that we could put in front of the community, sort of narrowing down. There are many possible alternatives to what you might do with the utility, but we narrowed it down to these 4, and the reason we chose these 4 is, I think at one end of the spectrum you have selling the utility, and it has many benefits and many costs. On the far other end of the spectrum, you have the municipal utility authority. That is as close to the existing structure as you have right now, and it might also meet some of the objectives that we listed up above. And then sort of in between, you have forming an electric cooperative of the whole Seward region, the old service territory of the city of Seward, which includes quite a bit of about half the customers are outside city limits. Forming that, and then as a forming a cooperative that would then serve that area, and there are two sort of alternatives under that cooperative formation. One is an asset transfer, where that organization actually buys the city's properties, and the other is a franchise cooperative where there's some sort of a long-term agreement made between the city and that organization, similar to the Providence Hospital or the Sea Life Center. Doyon's arrangement with the Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson is a little different, but in that same vein. So it's not, this isn't something that's never been done. So those are the four alternatives. There are other structures that could work. You could sell the utility to an investor-owned utility. I mean, that's what AEL&P did down in Juneau. They sold to Avista out of Spokane. But AEL&P was an investor-owned, and they sold to an investor-owned. And one of the challenges you're going to cross with an investor-owned utility is, you know, they need a rate of return that's probably 3 or 4 times what publicly owned utility, so your rates just go up immediately. You could operate a franchise with another railboat cooperative, and I think, while that's possible, in my experience, it's highly unlikely that one of those folks would take something like that on. And I say that because there isn't a lot of advantage for them. There isn't a lot for them to do that, and their boards might say, why are we doing this? Charter changes, there is a possibility of trying to change the charter so you could grant special privileges to folks outside, or some other hybrid structure. I don't think any of these are likely to meet the 5 objectives for a number of reasons, and I think they're very difficult to, they'd be very difficult to execute on. So we kind of settled on these 4 alternatives, and our goal is to sort of bring those forward to the community to talk about it. I think at a fundamental level, the question is, you have local control, which gives you increased influence and opportunity, and you have a sale. And from that, you're going to have scale, simplicity, and I think a perceived sense of safety, because you don't really have to deal with it anymore. You expect the lights to come on when you flip the switch. And really, the community has to decide what they want to do, how much strategic control, financial responsibility, operational complexity, and future economic upside are they willing to retain, because to retain that is going to take effort, commitment, and that's sort of the question before the community. In the near term, our objective is to hold our 4th town hall, which will be on Thursday. We're going to compare the alternatives against the 5 objectives, evaluate rate impacts, and some of the more qualitative questions about, access to capital, regulatory feasibility, that type of stuff. Clarify how each option treats what I'm calling G4J, because I got tired of writing it down. That's a Godwin 4th of July Creek project. I have a lengthy paper which will get posted on our website, and I had to write Godwin 4th of July, and I'm a lousy typist, so I find that I got to come up with an abbreviation for this. I can't type that over again. Future resource development and the value of local control. So we're going to try to put those in tables and qualitative charts, and we've done some high-level, what I'd call economic analysis from sort of the 250,000 foot level. I would call it directional in nature. I think the community has to decide something, and then we can dive into it and figure out what would that really cost. But I do have some directional financial information. And then as we move through the year, I think we want to continue the public engagement. We'll probably rerun the survey with very similar questions to understand, have we made any progress over the last year? Do those, I can't remember, was it 48% of the people who thought they didn't have enough information to make an informed decision? Hopefully that number gets down to closer to 5, 6, 10%. And then I think maybe another focus group with sort of a visioning session to kind of discover and align the vision of the community. I like the comment that Senator Begich had at the 3rd town hall. He said, if you can get to a vision, then the path to that vision will become known to you. But you have to decide where you want to go, and then you can figure out how to get there. And I think that's kind of where we are right now. And I took I don't know if you have a copy of the other, but I took the big image of Seward with a massive hydroelectric project spilling water in a big, throw that away.
They never saw it. You're good.
They never saw it. She said it to me, and I'm like, did I come up with that? It's the engineer, I'm a recovering engineer. So thoughts, questions, further information? Like I said, the decision before the community is to whether you were going to retain local control or you sell utility. It's pretty straightforward in that regard. Okay, how do you feel about it? So I don't know if you all have questions for us. Anything that's technical, she can answer the questions.
It'd be really interesting.
Technical with respect to the process or where we're going.
Questions? Councilmember Draper.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had a question about the focus groups. We never got any detailed information about the results of the focus groups. How many people participated? It sounds like they were targeted for I mean, I know that I wanted to be in one, and they said, no, you don't qualify. So can you talk about those a little bit?
I can take that through the chair. The focus groups, there are 2 focus groups so far. They were a few months apart, and they were actually run by an outside organization, so it wasn't even us, so it was a professional firm called Hayes Research out of Anchorage. And those, we do have reports for those, and we can get you those. I believe those are available, and I'll make sure you get them. I thought we did maybe, but we were kind of cranking out a lot of...
I'm kind of new around there.
I'll send them out.
Okay.
Yeah, you should take a look. These are very frank conversations, and they were recorded too. They were in person. So the researchers came down here and met with people on their own turf, and we just get very valuable information from people who have, they can say whatever they want. And the longer they go on, so they're about an hour or so long, the longer they go on, the more comfortable people get and the more honest they are. So it's just a great way to hear from people directly.
Other questions? It's an ongoing process. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I think, one of the things that needs to happen and is happening, but maybe not as quickly as some would like, is getting to an end to this so that we can actually make a decision, because we keep spending money on the utility, which I'm not going to say is a bad thing, but we don't really know where we're going yet. And I think because of things that have happened in the past and how certain things were done and maybe good or bad information, whatever it was, the community is a little skeptical on this whole thing. And so I think if, this next town hall, which a lot of us plan on attending, I'm looking for numbers, unbiased opinions, not feeling like people are being pushed one way or another to a cooperative or selling it or any of that kind of thing, because I think out there's a lot of people like, well, they just want us to sell it. Well, there's pros to that. There's also cons. Or they just want a cooperative. There's pros and cons, and as long as everybody feels like they're getting the honest truth and the cost that's going to come with each of those, where the rates are going to go, regardless of whether we get hydro in 10 years or however long it takes to develop those, because those are not next week projects. And so I think that's the biggest concern that I've heard from people is there's a little skepticism that you guys may want to direct us one way or the other. So what I'm looking for is just, here's the numbers. Here's what's going to happen with each of these. And the sooner that we can do that, the sooner that we can get a decision made, then I can't speak for everybody else, but personally, I'll feel more comfortable about saying, okay, yeah, let's spend that money on this. Let's spend that money on this, because we know where it's going and we know what we're going to get back from it. Does that make sense?
Sure, let me just cut you. A lot of thoughts there. But let me be perfectly clear. From my perspective, the city of Seward needs to decide what they want to do with this utility. I have no dog in that fight. very near the end of my career. Like about that far away. It could be tonight, it could be years from now. I'm very close. After Thursday, I'll be here with the town hall on Thursday. So I have no dog in that fight. And I'm going to present the information as unbiased and as open-minded as I possibly can. You have that commitment from me. When we talk about some of the investment we've made, I am very careful to measure those investments in terms of how they apply to the net book value of the utility. And as long as they're contributing to net book value, they will be considered in the price if you choose to sell the utility, whether you sell it to a local cooperative or to Chugach or MEA or Homer or whoever is the person. So I don't think any of these investments are wasted. They all hit the books, and you know, at the end of the day, having been through a handful of mergers in my career, in this type of business, it's going to come down to the net book value. It's going to be some multiple, either maybe you might get a little premium on it, but it's basically going to be the net book value. So you really have to make sure that the investments you're making are contributing to that. And I think everything from getting your metering correct, putting PCS in place so you have the uniform system of accounts and you actually look like an electric utility to another electric utility. Those kinds of things. The assets themselves land on the books and get depreciated over time that we're putting in, as well as the conversion to, like I said, the uniform system of accounts, which, well, I did after I came here learn there are quite a few small munis who don't use it, but every other utility in the country, of some 10,000 of them, use the uniform system of accounts. I can go anywhere I want, and I know what 571 is. It's transmission line maintenance. Any other guy from any other country could walk in and know that. So we are moving to that. So I just wanted to make it clear that the effort we are undertaking, I think it will clearly be reflected irrespective of which way you go on this. And we'll present, as unbiased a picture, because really at the end of the day, you all have to decide it, because it's going to require, if you choose to keep the utility, what's happened in the past is there hasn't been this commitment to actually operate a utility. I was down at the Sustainable Energy Conference last week, and Doug Burgum, who's the Secretary of the Interior, was talking, and he had what I thought was a very profound comment. And he said, in the early 1900s, we learned how to take energy and make it into electricity, and then electricity into light. And then we learned how to make electricity into heat. And now we've learned how to make electricity into intelligence. And electricity is going to become fundamental to the existence of communities as we move forward in this AIA. Scary as that may be to me, and unfortunately, it kind of frightens me, but I think that idea that you've actually learned how to take electricity and turn it into intelligence kind of gives you the aspect of how important this kind of a decision is for the community. And but you guys are going to have to carry that forward. I will be long gone doing other things. So I'll leave it at that. Hopefully I answered your questions.
Absolutely. I just want everybody to understand where you guys were coming from, because I don't think everybody understands that. And if I haven't made it clear enough, I have faith in the process you've been working. I just want everybody else to hopefully get to that point.
Brian would much rather be skiing. But
mountain biking, there's a lot of things I would not be doing.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
I won't let him.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Our last item, and I'll have the clerk comment on this, is to appoint up to 4 applicants for the Historic Preservation Commission. Mr. Clerk, tell us what the problem is.
So, the issue on that one, it's on page 55 of the packet. There's a copy of the public notice that we've been advertising. There's 3 seats expiring, as well as 1 vacant seat that's been available for about a year now, and we received no applicants for the commission, so that leaves the Historic Preservation Commission with only 3 members starting June 1st. So until they get at least 1 more member, they won't be able to have any meetings.
And maybe people aren't aware of what the Historic Preservation Commission does, but it's not the same as Resurrection Bay Historical Society, which I'm president of. That's a nonprofit, we take care of the museum contents, basically. We preserve things, whereas this Historic Preservation Commission was formed mainly, I believe, to get governmental grants for preservation of historical buildings in places around Seward. And I'm hoping it's just an error and maybe miscommunication that some of the people haven't reapplied, but we're putting out an appeal now, again, that we need applicants, correct?
And the commission is open to applicants all the way from Lowell Point out to the Y. So it's not just exclusive
They have to be
to-
within the Seward area, though. I mean, out to the Y, not other communities beyond. So, spread the word. It's a chance to give back. Okay, with that, I will move us to citizen, I believe that's it, right? Yeah. Citizen comments, this is your 5-minute, up to 5-minute time, and there's no sign-in, you just raise your hand and I'll call you up. So, does anybody want to say anything? Wow, we've said it all. Okay, then I'll bring it to council and administration comments and responses to the citizen comments perhaps from before. Administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I really appreciate all of the conversations tonight. It was an interesting meeting where we only had one actionable item, but I feel like administration is leaving with many action items. So thank you to all who, thank you all to everyone who spoke tonight and to everyone for an engaging meeting.
Mr. Bickley.
No comments, thank you.
Okay, you want to be complimented again? I said, no, that's okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Calhoun.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thank you to everybody that presented the information you gave us tonight. Some really good stuff. I'm sure that we will move on something for the 2 charter boat captains and their actions. I don't doubt that's going to happen. You know, the vehicle idling limits is an interesting conversation to have. There's some good things and maybe some negative things about that, although maybe more good than negative, so we'll see how that pans out. One thing I did want to bring up, and I hope city manager doesn't mind, in the quarterly financial reports, there were a couple items in there that were interesting. I think since this was printed, we did get the sales tax numbers, didn't we? That we didn't have before, so maybe you could just chat a second on that.
Yes.
That's okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Calhoun. Yes, so if you look on page 56, you will see the beginning of our Q1 financials, and our sales tax is in at a measly $112,000. But on the day of printing this, we received the number that sales tax would be, and we're going to reprint the financials, but it hasn't hit our account yet, so the number would still be low. But, sorry, I'm looking for the number off the top of my head. But it came in, the sales tax numbers did come in. Unfortunately, we are at about 5% decrease over last year, which is our first decrease that we've seen in a while. It's definitely something that we're being mindful of and engaging with. We think there's a few things that could have led to that, and we'll be digging into it a little bit more over time. But yes, we have seen those Q1 sales tax numbers come in, and they are a bit lower than anticipated. And Jason is amazing, as always, and we saw them come in at 18 million about versus last year when we saw 19 million of taxable. So a bit of a decline there. So we will keep that on our radar and report back. We are in a position, as everybody probably is aware, that Q1 is not really what floats our entire general fund. It's Q2 and Q3, the summertime. So we'll have a different conversation if that continues in Q2.
Okay.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot with that, but I just wanted a little clarification for everybody to understand.
Yeah, thank you for that.
A little more where we were. Just a couple other things. The May activities were busy. I'll speak a little bit to the American Legion, if you guys will give me that. The hot dog feed during Mermaid Festival was a success fundraiser, and partnering with everybody for that whole weekend is great. The harbor master is awesome to let us use that space, along with the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and the girls troop of Scouting America also partnered with us, so we raised some money for them. Some great young women coming up through there, so you guys should look into that if you have some young ladies that would like to get into scouting. Combat fishing tournament was a good success. The weather wasn't the best in the world, but it wasn't horrible, and we got to feed about 280 people that night. Had a great time with all those folks, and comment after comment how appreciative they were from the Charter Boat Association donating all those boats and everything for a day of fishing, and so many of those troops had never been fishing before. So they were just awesome, even the ones that were chumming to help their buddies catch fish. And then, of course, we just had Memorial Day, and that was a great ceremony. God blessed us with some wonderful weather. And I know the mayor was in attendance, and the city manager was in attendance, and it was just an awesome day to remember all of our fallen soldiers and their families, and we appreciate everybody's support for that. Coming up, I know it's probably a meeting before that, but we do have Flag Day is coming on June 14th, and we will have a ceremony on that date at the American Legion for anybody that's interested. And then we'll also discuss a little bit at some point, a little bit of flag etiquette things. And the only thing that I will say, when we lower the American flag to half-staff, every flag goes to half-staff. There will not be a flag higher than the American flag when it's displayed. So we all just need to remember that. And we'll work on that a little bit. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Draper.
I have a big list. I'll try to pare it down a little bit. But I was going to say that the fate of our utility feels urgent right now because we have financing decisions to make that could be affected by whatever path forward we decide to take. So I don't know. I feel a sense of urgency of like, what are we doing with this? And then I wanted to mention something that has come up at a couple council meetings from a citizen comment is the open loop system of scrubbers on cruise ships, and did a little research with the city manager and found that the cruise ships that come in here almost exclusively do not use those, and the one ship that would be coming to Seward that has one is not coming this year. So the Carnival ships have the open loop scrubbers. What they do is discharge the water into the ocean and have to be really highly monitored and regulated. But the ones that come in here are internal scrubbers. Also was super interested in the vehicle idling question from Mr. Frank. I really appreciate him coming in today. And I wanted to say that I kind of started to have a conversation with Sully about possibly having the department heads or enterprise heads make comments on the quarterly financial statements because they're close to it. So, like Brian, you'd be commenting on variances of certain amounts with certain parameters, or just looking at finances and telling the council, what are you gleaning out of this quarter. So that was one idea that I was going to float and see if we could start doing. And then one more thing, Mount Marathon race. I'm surprised the Chamber of Commerce didn't bring it up at all, but I have the distinct honor of being in charge of the finish line. And if anybody wants to volunteer for that spot, you come to me. I have them not put it on the sign up because I like to pick my own people, but it's kind of a coveted spot to watch the race, and you get a cool T-shirt.
It's a big deal.
It's very fun. So yeah, that's all I had. Thank you.
Councilmember Kreitz. Okay, Vice Mayor Osenga.
We had a lot of good presentations today, so I'd just like to thank everyone that came in and gave us all the pertinent information that we heard today. I did go to DC, missed a meeting last 2 weeks ago, and I would be in error if I didn't admit or let you all know, inform you that our city manager once again stepped up, few meetings, we had a couple of discussions where topics were brought up where I was like going, I don't know anything about this, and she was there to answer all the questions and handled everything perfectly, and I think we had some really good meetings. I think Seward's in a good place to where a lot of good things can happen, and I think that we presented that in DC as best as we could, and I think Kat did an absolute wonderful job, so I would just like to give her some kudos for that, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Well, what they said, also, I've already been planning a proclamation to honor our local heroes, Will and Nick, for what they did for the boating accident. I need details. I think the clerk and I will work on that together. He forewarned me that we need a proclamation also, probably for Flag Day, I think. Lots of proclamations, and by the way it works is I'm the one that approves the proclamations, so if you ever want a proclamation, talk to me first. It's easier, then he writes them generally. The Memorial Day ceremony at the Legion Cemetery is something that I value every year, and a lot of people do, and it's important to be there. Even if you don't know of relatives or friends that have passed in wars, you're honoring everyone that has been out there, and it's something that's important to me, at least, We've had tourists here, and we haven't had the ships yet, but we've had a lot of tourists driving erratically, and my opinion is that perhaps people, and I know this for a fact because I have traveled too, that people never behave on vacation the way they would in their own hometown, if that makes sense. I'm saying it very, very carefully here. So just be really, really careful with people darting out in cars and just aberrant behavior, and also especially now, watch out for the kids that are out there on their bikes and things like that. And boating safety is important too, as more people are out on the water. This is the time of year when things happen, and we don't want to make our emergency people work too hard, I guess. So anyway, any last minute comments? He said it all. Okay, I think that's all I have. I will adjourn us at 8:20. I won't adjourn us. I will adjourn us from this. I think I still adjourn us from the main meeting, but at the end, we're going to have an executive session, so I can entertain the motion to go into executive session. We'll vote on that. Then I'll let everyone else leave, and we're going to be evaluating the city clerk in executive session. Correct? Correct.
That is correct.
Okay, so I entertain a motion to go into executive session for the annual evaluation of the city clerk, and I need a second for that also.
I'll make the motion to go into executive session for reasons stated.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I don't know that we need discussion on this. Mr. Clerk, tell me.
Before we vote, I'd just like to invite the
Yes.
city manager and deputy city manager to stay if they so
Okay.
desire.
If they would stay. You can't go home to your kitten yet. I know. Okay.
It's totally optional. You can go.
Can I put on the record that Chris is doing an amazing job, but I would like to go home to my kitten?
Okay, so with that in mind, we need to vote on going into executive session, please.
Okay. Voting on the motion to go into executive session for the annual evaluation of the city clerk. And we lost Warner during comments.
Yes, she had an emergency to go to.
Okay. Draper?
She's excused.
Oh,
Draper, yes.
Sorry.
Sorry. Calhoun?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure?
Yes.
Okay, that motion has been approved, and did you want to take a recess before the session, or just go
Do we
straight
need a
into it?
recess? Yes, please, 5-minute
Okay, 5
recess. So I will call a recess then of the regular meeting. We'll come back after the executive session to actually close out the whole meeting, but you don't have to stay. So, 5 minutes.
Okay, we're back on the air.
Okay, we're back. I'm going to gavel us back in. We had an evaluation of the city clerk and discussed it, and now I am going to adjourn this meeting at 8:56 PM. Good.